it was a pretty good episode overall. To me, the only things really worth watching on WWE are NXT and SmackDown, and they're very, very careful with how they're working with Reigns, which is good. It's one of the things that they should have done in the first place, and it seems like the mastermind behind it with Paul Heyman is Paul Heyman building up Cesaro, because Cesaro is looking like a beast, and I would like to see Reigns being dethroned as champion at the right time. And if that means it's Big E that does it or Cesaro that does it, I'm behind it both ways. I would like Cesaro to get it first, because I think Cesaro is there, as well as I think kind of Big E's there. If Cesaro can take this title from him at Backlash, I would definitely like to see it. Cesaro did beat Rollins on the night, and he's kind of keeping that there. I don't like how WWE streamed Rollins. I wouldn't mind it if he, still lost a couple of matches, but it was at least in the picture, maybe for Intercontinental title or something along those lines. Because Rollins has a lot of skill. I do think now's the time to pull the trigger on Cesaro while they can take advantage of it. But at the same point, we should be kind of building something with Rollins to where he's just not getting beat constantly by Cesaro. They did a 5-on-5 tag match. It is what it is. I do want to talk about the throwback. The throwback didn't make sense for them to do. If they wanted to do a throwback with SmackDown, they should have built up the stage with a giant fist in it like they had back in the day. But the parts of it that didn't make sense is the logo. The logo was from like 80s to 90s, early 90s. SmackDown came around in 1999. They already had the new logo, the scratch logo at that point. And then they had this old 80s and 90s style music, which again, SmackDown started in late 90s, I think 1999. And I think at that point they had Marilyn Manson's Beautiful People as the music, not this like poppy 80s music that sounds like it'd be attributed to Cyndi Lauper. Completely different music. For what I understand, they did it because the NFL throwback or something along those lines, or something related to Fox having throwback for a sports league. Which again, if they want to do a throwback for SmackDown, that is fine. But at least do a throwback that makes sense, that puts it with a lot of the logos back to the late 90s, early 2000s, rather than 80s and 90s when Raw was on the air. It is what it is. WWE, they are very, very frustrating. I want them to do so much better than what they're doing, and it seems like it's a lost cause. WWE has the money and it has the tenure to be one of the top it is the top wrestling league, but to produce very interesting storylines. I mean, recently on Dynamite. Recently, Dynamite was number 1 in cable from 18 to 49 on Wednesday nights. So there's definitely a interest in there from wrestling fans, especially because WWE had burnt a lot of bridges with wrestling fans. So it's not necessarily that they aren't able to reach the fans. It's just the fans are so tired of the bullshit. And one of the people argues, 1 million wasn't anything in 2010. Right. In those past 10 years, cable has changed so much. Not only everyone is carrying cable nowadays. A lot of people are streaming. I stream a lot of my content. It might be through a cable provider that I get the content to stream, but I stream. And I have a DVR, cloud DVR with that service. So a lot of people are streaming their content through the internet. If you look at the subscriber count for cable between 2010 to now, it would decrease pretty steadily. Internet subscriptions would increase over that 10-year period as well, because the internet speeds have gained so much since 2010. I think the highest at 2010 was maybe 50 megabytes, and now we're into gigs now. So we're getting to a point where internet is definitely dominant king. What you have to pay attention to mainly is the streams and how much people are consuming wrestling. I would more than bet their merch sales had not dipped since 2010 that much. You would probably have to look at WWE at that point, because they're the only company that's consistently been garnering attention since 2010. Impact would have been a player had not all the mistakes that they had made in that period, and at this point, Access TV doesn't get as many viewers as Fox or USA at that point. to really determine where they are merch wise or where they're at viewer wise. I know they do a pretty good number on Twitch, but it's not the same as WWE. And then you have AEW on TNT that's pulling in pretty good viewers for wrestling on a cable network at this point. I'm not sure what Ring of Honor's doing or New Japan's doing, but there is the demand there. And in the last few years now, pro wrestling tees in WWE have made their way into Hot Topic. I even picked up a shirt, the Exalted One, Brody Lee, from Hot Topic recently. And I know I saw other WWE merch and other pro wrestling tees merch there. And if you go into even the local Walmarts are selling WWE shirts. They have some, last time I was there, they had some Alexa's Playground, some Fiend, some WrestleMania, some Triple H, Seth Rollins, people like that. I think there's an Owens shirt there as well. So they're actually making their way more into the mainstream again. I actually remember as a kid seeing a WCW and NWO shirt at Walmart. I think it had Goldberg on it. So the interest is there. And from what I understand, independents are doing really well. There's IW.TV, that's subscriptions for $9.99 a month. You can see a lot of independent wrestling there, which I haven't subscribed yet, but I'm definitely thinking about it. From talking to a lot of people with the IWA Mid-South, I definitely want to, see a lot more of their matches because they're piquing my interest. There's a lot of wrestling content out there, a lot more than realistically I have time for. And I'm trying to keep up with it for this show and be able to do these episodes and talk about wrestling, talk about my opinion on wrestling. But at the same time, there's just not enough time in the day for it. There are not many shows other than wrestling shows that I watch, but I do definitely keep up with movies and read books and other things I got going on in my life. But I've definitely fallen more in love with wrestling more on the independents and outside of WWE. WWE is just an abusive relationship that keeps smacking me, and I keep coming back for more. But at the same time, it's what we do. It's why we do what we do. Like I said, this episode is going to be going up more than likely Wednesday. I'm recording this on Monday night, and I'm going to have to edit it the next day. But this will go up on Wednesday morning, Tuesday night, technically. And then I'm also going to be recording an episode with Just Incredible. We're going to talk about AEW Blood and Guts and wrestling, hardcore wrestling directly. I chose Just Incredible because I know he is a hardcore wrestler. We already had a little bit of rapport from the interview we did in the past, as well as I know he's a fan of the current product. I watch his Twitter. He definitely pays attention to the current product. And there's not a lot of hardcore wrestlers and wrestlers in general that have been outside of the business that keep up with the product. I've said plenty of times before, I listen to the Raven Effect podcast, and I know Raven doesn't really pay attention to it. He reads the news, but he doesn't really watch the product. Which, to each its own. I know he likes MMA, and I've been trying to pay a little bit more attention to MMA myself. But, I want to talk to Just Incredible about it. Good dude. I'm sure he can provide some insight to some of the spots that he did, the danger levels, and things like that. Again, to wrap up this episode, you can get us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, and Spotify, and YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter at WrestlingSCool, Instagram, Wrestling Still Cool, Facebook, Wrestling Still Cool, which I've been uploading the episodes there as well with a link to Spreaker. So you can definitely catch it there. Email us at wrestlingstillcool@gmail.com. Put out any kind of feedback you'd like to provide us for the episodes, as well as any kind of suggestions people you'd like us to interview. So maybe even independent wrestlers you might know. The TikTok is Wrestling Still Cool at 90, and the LinkedIn is Wrestling Still Cool. Be sure to check us out. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us on this voyage that we've been taking since last September. Downloads are getting there. I definitely want to keep building this up because I have some ideas I want to do, but I need this to keep building in attention to kind of get it there. So just be on the lookout. I'll talk a little bit more about it when we get closer to it, but this definitely needs to keep drawing more attention for that to happen. I thank you for you guys listening. I appreciate every one of you. I don't know when Mark will be back on. I know he's taking care of some personal things. It's his own personal thing. I keep in contact with him about it, make sure he's doing all right. Seems to be doing okay. So again, I'm not sure when he'll be back, but I'm gonna try and keep this episode up. I am still doing the Retribution rebook. That's taking a little bit more time because that involves a lot more research and a lot more kind of planning out how I would do it versus, one of these where I can just kind of see what happened the past week, talk about it, then leave it at that. A lot of these I just come in with the notes and kind of, point that direction of what I want to talk about. Now I think of it. The guy from Lucha House Party, his name was Kalisto. I don't know why they made me randomly think of it. Thank you for your listening, guys. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. And next week on Raw, there will be a new member to the Lucha House Party, El Generico.